Welcome, thank you for joining me. My name is Bjorn. We're going to be looking at a build that I tried to build something for Handsome Jack. He's a very unique character, especially since he lives in a universe of a looter and shooter. So this build will require some multi-classing. Also, it's going to require a class from the Critical Role, the Gunslinger that Matt Mercer created for Percy. If not, you might be able to go with an arcane archer if guns aren't a thing, or maybe you didn't invent them, but I'm not going to get into that side of things. I'm going to get into this build. It's a little bit complex for what I felt that Handsome Jack would fit, but I think it fits the Handsome Jack that I view and that I would like to play. Alright, so let's go ahead and get into it. As we can see here, as I mentioned, we go with the fighter Gunslinger here. We bring that up to 11. The College of Whispers Bard, we bring that up to 5. And the Oath of Conquest Paladin, we bring that up to 4. We'll get into the build in a little bit. Let's go ahead and take a look at what I felt that the best race was. Now, because he is so handsome, I felt that it would only be fitting that he would be a high elf. Not only this, that we gain a +2 to our dexterity and a +1 to our intelligence, which very much fits into the Gunslinger, along with him being an extremely intelligent person. Of course, with this, the other benefit is that we gain a use of a cantrip. I really like that idea, that maybe we can have a mage hand assist us while we're working with whatever. And but there are other options. Minor Illusion is a very good one and whatnot, but I very much like thematically to have a mage hand with me. Now, as I was saying, this class does require a bit of multi-classing. The requirements for it as such is, for a fighter, it requires either a strength or a dexterity of a 13. So with that, we are a dex build because we are using a firearm, which goes off of the dexterity modifier. For a bard, it requires that we have a charisma of 13, which I felt like would be our third highest stat. We'll get into what I would recommend in a little bit here. And for Paladin, this is where it gets a bit complicated. You need a strength and a charisma of 13. For stat priority, I would suggest, of course, getting your dex up to being your highest. You want to be able to, I feel like it's really up to you, I guess. It's either your dex or your intelligence or your charisma that you'd want to be the highest. Like, how do you want to play out this character? What are you looking for? Are you looking for that crazy violent side of him where he just does more damage, I guess? Like, even like though it's a +1 modifier, that +1 is huge. Intelligence, just creating that shit that he's making all these weapons, and charisma. So like there's 3 stats here that I could see you going with. Invest them how you please. I'm looking for more of that damage and creation side of things, because I'm probably going to be the first one. But for the charisma, I really like having high charisma. But again, for that multi-class, we must have a strength of 13. So if you can't get all the shit while at first, which is fine, you're going to have to invest ASIs into it. And I really like the idea of his wisdom being his dump stat, because I don't really come across Handsome Jack as being the wisest of people. Like, I feel he is extraordinarily intelligent. His wisdom, I might even bump that down to like a 7 just to give myself a hard time with it. I think that'd be a fun thing to play out. Of course, with the background, I decided to go with the Haunted one here, mostly because it gives me a few options. We get Arcana Investigation here. I really like these 2 skills. It fits with thematically with, you know, having a higher intelligence. Also, like, it fits to me a little bit with his backstory. Of course, with backstories, I recommend going with your own backstory. Make up your own backstory for this character. This is a playstyle that I felt would be akin to Handsome Jack. You know, create your own backstory, make this character your own, and just have fun with it as much as you can. Alright, and let's go ahead and get into the leveling. So for this first level, I would really recommend going into Fighter. Mostly just so that we can start getting down that path. The proficiencies, I went with Intimidation and History. Of course, Fighting Style, Archery. This is going to be applying to our weapons, even though it just says Archery, so that +2 to attack rolls. And of course, we get Second Wind at first level. This is going to be a D10 +11 by the time we're done with it. That's a pretty fair chunk of health that we could gain back. I really like that. Second level, we gain Action Surge. Not much to be said about that, besides that it's awesome. And now we move on to third level, and we finally get to choose our martial archetype. So for third level, as I was saying, we go with the Critical Role Gunslinger. If you're using the D&D Beyond builder, make sure you come over here and you activate the Critical Role content. The red means it's on, the gray means it's off. Now, what comes with this is that we gain a few things. We gain a few trick shots, for example. So for the first few trick shots that I would recommend going with Disarming Shot and Deadeye Shot. Mostly because giving yourself advantage on a roll so early on, very, very useful. And Disarming Shot because I feel like this will benefit the group. Not only that, benefit yourself, because if something is approaching you, a big old fucking barbarian Goliath, you don't want him to have a weapon on. For the 7th level option, I would recommend going with Dazing Shot, being able to give your targets disadvantage on any hits. This again benefits yourself and benefits the group. A very nice ability to have. And then at level 10, to end off with the shot choices, I decided to go with Violent Shot. I felt like this was a nice progression. Yeah, not much more to be said about Violent Shot. It's a pretty nice ability. Now, at 4th level, this is where we get to choose our first ASI. I decided to go with the Sharpshooter. Felt pretty obvious to me. So yeah, this is a great ability. If you didn't meet the multi-class requirements, it may be worth yourself to go ahead and bump up an ASI here. That way you don't need to worry about it down the line. But if not, I would really recommend just going with Sharpshooter here. It's a very, very nice ability. And this is where at 5th level we gain our first extra attack. Extra attack is beautiful. By time with this character, we'll end off at 11th level with a second extra attack, so we'll have 3 attacks in a row, which I very much like. At 6th level we gain a new ASI. Again, this is a point in which you may need to invest into increasing a modifier. But for here, I decided to go with Elven Accuracy. This is a pretty amazing ability, so when we use our Deadeye Shot, for example, we'll be able to you re-roll, like we'll have 3 rolls essentially, because we'll be using a dexterity modifier. I decided to bump up my intelligence here because I already have a dexterity up to a 20 from the racial, but this is a pretty amazing feat if you can have it. At 7th level we gain Quick Draw. This is pretty nice, so we can add our proficiency bonus to our initiative roll. We can also stow a firearm and then draw the firearm as a single object interaction on our turn. At 8th level, we get a new ASI. Again, possibly a chance to increase an ability, whatever. But because we are a high elf, I decided to go ahead and take the Fate Teleportation. This is more so just to protect yourself, really. Also, we get to increase a Charisma score here, or an Intelligence score. I decided to go with the Charisma in this case, because the Intelligence was already at a 20. And we learn the Misty Step ability. We can only do this, however, once per short rest or long rest, but still having the Misty Step that otherwise wouldn't be accessible to us at this level is an extremely beneficial thing to us. We also gain the ability to read and write Sylvan. Pretty nice, but I really like this escape method. It feels appropriate that you don't want to be taking opportunity of attacks. You'd rather be, taking the teleport ability to say, like, to fuck off and be somewhere else. 9th level, we gain Indomitable. This is a pretty great thing. We can re-roll a failed save if we want. We only get 1 use of this, but still that 1 use could be a life or death situation, so awesome. 10th level, we gain Rapid Repair. This is absolutely beautiful, and I felt essential towards this character, which is why I brought it up to 10 in the beginning. But yeah, we can try to fix a gun jam with only a bonus action instead of an action. So this is quite beautiful, but yeah. And of course, this is our second extra attack, so we'll have 3 attacks with this. Awesome ability. I really like the fighter. I'm coming into really liking the fighter a lot more now. But, alright, now we're going to close off the Gunslinger. This is where you can have some deviation. Personally, I wanted to go into College of Whisper Bard first, and then I went into Oath of Conquest Paladin second. I mostly wanted it to thematically more so fit the progression of his own story. If I'm playing something, if I'm really sticking towards that story, or if you are, being a bit better with, like by this point, you've went through that, the nobody in the company to now the CEO, and now you've went through the whole thing with the pre-sequel, the pre-Borderlands 2 game, whatever, and then all of a sudden you're going to Oath of Conquest. We don't get too much with Oath of Conquest, it's just more so like the channel divinities that I like, but I like what we get with College of Whispers, so we'll go into that first. Alright, so starting at first level, we gain a new proficiency. I decided that this is the point in which I will be going with Deception. I wanted to go with it sooner, but I didn't see a way to getting it. Of course, we gain some Bardic Inspirations at this level. It's only going to be a D6. I believe we're going to end off with a D8 by the time we're done with the Bard. And then the other big benefit that we gain with this class is Jack of all trades. Main thing that this helps with is not just with all the skills that we don't have as proficient, it also helps with all the tools that we don't have as proficiency. So all of a sudden the smithing tools, all the tools, every single tool, we can have half our proficiency into them. So that could help us quite a bit with building, designing, and creating the guns and weapons that we're going to be making. And I really like that. Second level, of course, we also get Song of Rest, a really nice ability. You know, it's up to you if you ever use this or not. But, you know, if you have it, you may as well. I'm not sure how much Jack would be singing to people. It might fit, might not. Maybe instead of doing a song, you could do a rousing, inspirational speech, and then you heal people through that. And it could be a very narcissistic speech about how much you've sacrificed this battle. It could be really fun to roleplay this, and this is the point in which I felt that this character was taking on more of a leadership role through the bard. And then finally, at third level, we get to choose the Bardic College, and this is the first time I've actually looked at the College of Whispers, and it's pretty fucking badass, I have to say. So at third level, we gain Words of Terror. We learn to infuse innocent-seeming words with an insidious magic that can inspire terror. That's pretty cool. I really feel like that fits to what Jack does. He scares the shit out of people. He intimidates them into doing shit that he wants them to do for him. Because if not, you die. If you speak to a humanoid alone for at least 1 minute, you can attempt to see paranoia into its mind. At the end of the conversation, the target must succeed a wisdom saving throw against your spell save DC or be frightened of you or another creature of your choice. The target is frightened in this way for an hour, until it is attacked or damaged, or until it witnesses its allies being attacked or damaged. Target succeeds, it doesn't know you're attempting to do this, which is another big benefit of this, because a lot of spells and abilities that you will have, they'll know, right? Even though it could have been a peasant, a plebeian that doesn't know anything. But yeah, this is very nice. So again, this is only a short or long rest, but this is impressive. You can frighten somebody for a fucking hour, and you can like just threaten them and intimidate them to the point in which you need to go do this for me right now. If not, I'm gonna go like kill your family or some shit like that. You can really play into that evil, vicious side with this character. You know, be careful with that with your party, because your party might start to see you as that crazy bastard now. But yeah, Words of Terror, very cool ability. Of course, too, at third level, we gain Psychic Blades. Now, it says blades there. I think you can make an argument to extend this on to anything that you do. So with your gun, I feel like you'll be able to say that this applies, which it would be shitty if it didn't. Regardless, so when we join the college at third level, we gain the ability to make our weapon attacks magically toxic to the creature's mind. When you hit a creature with a weapon attack, you can expend one of your bardic inspirations to deal an extra 2d6 psychic damage to the target. You can also only do so once per round on your turn. The psychic damage increases by certain levels, so I got this up to 5th level, so we'll be doing a 3d6. So yeah, this is insane. So for this is also why I was mentioning you might want to have a higher charisma too, because for at least 4 rounds of this character, my charisma is at a make-believe 18. We are able to do this, and we can save this even for like a critical hit. So it's because it says when you hit a creature with a weapon attack, so you don't need to announce this beforehand. It's worded similar to how Smite works with Paladins. Then we can do this. We can throw a Bardic Inspiration into it and do an additional 2d6 psychic damage. So we can add that onto a critical hit. And with 3 attacks and with giving ourselves advantage through Deadeye, there's a pretty good chance that you'll be critting here and there. So it feels, oh god, you can do a lot of extra damage with this. Of course, at third level, we also gain Expertise. I decided to go, again, Intimidation and Deception. We're going to be lying a lot to people. We're going to be intimidating the shit out of people. Feels very, very fitting. 4th level, we gain a new ASI. This is where you could just go with Lucky, you know, pretty great feat, or go with one of the other feats if you hadn't been able to take it yet. But yeah, Lucky's a pretty amazing feat. And of course, 5th level, we gain the increase to our Psychic Blades, but we also gain the Font of Inspiration, so we can recharge our Bardic Inspirations on a short rest, which I felt was absolutely necessary, which is why I brought this class up to a 5th level. There's some other things that if you wanted to skip Oath of Conquest, you might be able to go further into Bard, because so for the next 4 levels, you can get a new ASI. Encounter Charm. Mantle of Whispers is pretty cool. You take on the form of someone you've just killed. I didn't feel like that was very befitting Jack. Like he has like all these clones of himself and like body doubles and shit like that, but like if you want to go down this route, you definitely can. It's up to you. Now, as for spells, of course, this is again up to you. We already have the mage hand, so go with shit that you don't have, of course. So like minor illusion, prestidigitation, vicious mockery would be a fucking amazing cantrip. Like just flat out mock somebody to death. That'd be great. Of course, I'd recommend going with Bane, Charm Person, Cure Wounds mostly for yourself, Disguise Self if you ever do run into that, you need it. Like, this is at the point of, like, this is what you decide what you need for your group and for yourself, and, like, I'm not going too far into spells here. Alright, and that's where we ended off with the College of Whispers. We're at level 16 now, and now we're moving off into the Oath of Conquest Paladin. So at first level, we gain Divine Sense, pretty unique ability. We'll be able to use this a number of times, 1 plus our Charisma modifier, but we'll be able to know the locations of Celestials, Fiends, or Undead within 60 feet of us. At second level Paladin, we gain a new fighting style. I decided to go with Defense here, so while we're wearing armor, you gain a +1 to your AC. I'm going with Studded Leather, I think. You could obviously easily go with Plate, but the main issue with going with Plate with this build was that you would need to have a strength of 15 in that case. So to me, it was an ASI investment that I didn't want to take. So I think I just went with I did just end up going with the Studded Leather. Also, it feels fitting that he would be wearing that. You can make it like a jacket out of it and all that shit, make it look fancy. Also, at second level, we gain our Divine Smite. This is fucking amazing. This is very similar to how with the Psychic Blades works. So again, though, with the Divine Smite, we can once we can save this for that critical hit, dump our Bardic Inspiration into the hit with a 2d6 or 3d6 at 5th level, and then at this we can add a 2d8. So a 2d8 first level spell or a 3d8, and like you can just add up all these extra die onto what you'd normally be rolling. So all of a sudden, it depends too on what god you're following here. You can make this either look like an additional radiant damage kind of feel, or maybe more necrotic. I mean, you can change this up to befit the god that you are following, and maybe it'd be funny too if that the god that you were following was yourself. Like you just viewed yourself so much as a god that you just empowered yourself with the Oath of the Conquest Paladin. It would just be the funniest shit ever. But yeah, so this is up to you with how you go about this. So at third level, we get to choose our Sacred Oath, and again, we're going with the Oath of the Conquest. Pretty easy choice for me. We gain some Channel Divinities that I think are cool. Again, we gain this ability to frighten everything within 30 feet of us. That is amazing. It fits into this character how they've already been playing, where they can frighten one or two or a couple characters. Now we can frighten fucking everyone around us and scare the shit out of them, which is awesome. We also gain Guided Strike, in which we can do a +10 to our roll, which is awesome, and not much more to be said about this. I mostly came into this just for the Channel Divinities, and also for the Divine Smite. Also, I brought this all the way up to 4th level. I decided to go with Skilled. I went with Stealth, Insight, Sleight of Hand. I felt like this character could use Stealth or Insight or Sleight of Hand or whatever. This character, I don't feel like I want this character to be necessarily stealthing around all the time. I want this character to be out in the open and scaring the shit, like, just by presence. They are arrogant and cocky and, like, feel like they can handle whatever. But I feel like, at this point, whatever. Go with another ASI increase here, whatever. But with the Paladin too, we gain, for at least our abilities, we gain 6 possible smites during ability, during a combat encounter. I think the first 3 are going to be 1st level, and the second are going to be 2nd level, so a lot of damage. I mean, you can invest into a whole bunch of spells here too if you'd like, but, I mean, Shield of Faith is probably worth it, more AC. But besides that, I think most of the spells that you're going to want to be using is from the Bard. Maybe Bless, up to you. So we're back here, and yeah, that was kind of the build idea that I had around for this Handsome Jack character, where he just ends up being a very intelligent human being who created these weapons. It just becomes scarier and scarier and falls into his own kind of madness. Yeah, so you can add pepper boxes too with this, which is pretty cool. They have a pretty decent amount of damage. I didn't realize it was a D10. That's fucking nuts. Yeah, we can go around firing each of these in both hands. Yeah, I really like this skill chart here because Again, we have that deception and intimidation up so high, and then we have all these other proficiencies, and the jack of all trades for all this other shit. The initiative, I really like seeing that high. Our AC gets to be up to a 21 thanks to a whole bunch of shit here. Yeah, this character I think would be very fun to play out. It's an investment for the first 11 levels. You're more so focusing on that aspect with you and the guns and being an inventor and all that shit. But you know, however you want to play this character up, you can play this character up as though you have that bardic shit already. Obviously, you can't benefit from any of the actions of it, but you can still act like that very charismatic individual from level 1. It's up to you how you play this character, but yeah. I hope someone took some inspiration away from this and enjoyed it. So yeah, thank you for joining me, and have a great day as always. Bye-bye.